Hello everyone. So this project is all about creating your own signature. On this worksheet, I had students create at least 5 signatures, circle the one that they liked the best, and then on this next worksheet, write that signature 10 to 15 times in a row so that they could make sure that it looked the same every time and make it consistent. Once that was done and you had your signature, you'd get some tracing paper, put it over an eraser, and then sketch out that signature that you just perfected. This is to make sure that it's the correct size for the eraser. Now you can kind of go over it a little bit more, darken the lines, and make them as thick as possible without obscuring the actual signature itself. So making sure that it can be seen and that it'll be thick enough to actually create the stamp. So in this project, we talk a lot about the importance of signatures, not just in art, but in adulthood and everyday life. If you're a famous author or a famous athlete, and why it's necessary to have your own signature and make it completely unique to you. It could be your name, it could be your initials, it could be so many things. But for this, I used my initials, and this is what I sign all of my paintings and all of my murals with as well. Then you flip over the tracing paper. That's very important so that it's mirrored on the eraser, and you rub it onto the eraser the best that you can. Just really make sure that all of it gets transferred onto that eraser. There you go. Super easy. You can go back in with the pencil and kind of perfect the signature as much as possible. If you wanted to add any extra little lines, make sure that it just is a really nice, clean signature that you'll be able to see it the whole time that you're carving onto the eraser. So after you have that, you're going to get your carving tool, and this part's a little bit more sped up, and you're going to try and get rid of the biggest outside sections first. What you're carving is just any of the pink space that's left over on the eraser. Wherever there's pencil, wherever your signature is, that you are not carving. You are going to leave that part on the eraser. The rest, the pink eraser, you are carving all of that off. This is going to create the actual stamp itself. So as you're carving it off, you want to make sure that all of the space around your signature is pretty low so that it doesn't get any ink on it and then get on your paper when you do stamp. Here I have most of the outer part pretty much carved away. I am going to switch to a slightly smaller carving tool now and try and get all of those tiny little detailed sections within the signature carved out. And you can see here, I'm just really making sure that those edges are completely carved away, going right up against the pencil, but leaving space just so that it's not too thin of a line. And another tip with this is that you always want to be carving away from yourself. You might see a couple times where I'm carving towards myself or somewhat towards myself in this video. Do as I say, not as I do. Please carve away from yourself. If you do happen to nick one of your fingers, I do have Band-Aids in my desk, and that's totally fine. It won't hurt too badly, I promise. But yeah, definitely carve away from yourself. So here I'm kind of going back in with a larger tool and getting some of those little intricate areas as well. I really wanted to perfect this part so that you could see each letter. I didn't want it to get too blurry. I didn't want them to all be smushed together. You want that spacing. Anywhere that there's pink on that eraser, you want to try and carve out the best that you possibly can. So go slow. There you can see I actually put it on the stamp pad on the ink just to see where the ink would show up. So if it showed up a little bit outside of my signature, I'm going back in now and I'm carving around there just to see. And now I'm testing it again. I just stamped it on the ink pad, pressing it down lightly. There you go. And there's my signature. Surprisingly, it does look just like my actual signature, maybe a little bit more rustic. I realized here that some of the letters were a little bit too boxy for me, so I do go back in and kind of smooth out those edges a little bit. This is my stamp tester, all of the stamps that I've carved and made myself. And I'm just putting my signature right up there on the top, pressing it down nice, making sure all of the letters get there. And there you have it. Now you can use this eraser stamp for any artworks in my class, anytime outside of class that you need it. I'm going to be keeping these stamps in tubs, and they'll be organized based on your class. So next year when you come back to art, I'll have your stamp and you'll be able to continue to use it to stamp and sign all of your art projects in my class. So there it is at the top, and there's the stamp on the right. The very last thing you're going to do is you are going to take a Sharpie, turn the eraser around, write your first name and at least your last initial, and then you're going to write the year on that as well. Once you have all of that information written down, you can either start using it for your projects or you can give it to me, and I'll be placing it in that bin and organizing it in the closet for everybody. Hopefully this was a good tutorial for you on how to create these signature stamps. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. I will link those two worksheets at the beginning at the bottom. Thank you.